The excitement of Formula One racing comes to the big screen with Brad Pitt at the helm, and this movie gave him his biggest opening weekend ever. Let's talk F1. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new movie F1. This is still playing in theaters, but it will be available on Apple Plus very soon. It actually was produced by Apple, but like they've done with a few of their other movies recently, like Napoleon, these big sweeping movies that you really want to see on the big screen, they let it linger in the theaters for a few weeks before putting it up for free on their service. But look, I would recommend seeing this one in a theater. It is out of IMAX now, but it's still on the big screen, probably for a few more weeks as of this recording. So I definitely recommend checking it out there. But if not, it will be available on Amazon, or on Apple TV Plus, I should say. All right. Anyway, we will get into the specifics of this movie here momentarily. But first, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are a subscriber already for Dan Reviews It, thank you so much for that. I love it when you guys return and check out my stuff. But if you are not, please consider subscribing, click the notification bell, or you can just like this video, comment below. All that stuff, of course, helps out the channel tremendously. So Brad Pitt, yeah, this was a big hit for him. It gave him his biggest worldwide opening weekend ever in a very, very long career. So that is good news. But he plays F1 racing driver Sonny Hayes, who is returning after a 30-year absence to save his former teammate's underdog team. And the former friend, well, he's played by the great Javier Bardem. Ruben, he is a former teammate, and now he owns this team that is really struggling. And so how do we make this a hit again? Well, let's reach out to my old friend Sonny and see what happens. But we have, of course, the hot newcomer played by Damson Idris. He plays Joshua Pierce. Don't really recognize him from anything, but he was one of the stars of Snowfall on FX. I know that was a big hit. A lot of people did see that, so you may recognize him from that. Carrie Condon is here as well. Tobias Menzies, Will Merrick, Sarah Niles, and Kim Bodnia, all as supporting characters here. And so this was directed by Joseph Kosinski, who directed a lot of big budget action movies like Tron Legacy, Oblivion, the Tom Cruise film, and speaking of Tom Cruise, this man directed Top Gun Maverick, obviously one of the biggest hits really of all time, but certainly of the last 5 years. Everyone was saying Tom Cruise saved movies and theaters specifically by waiting to release Maverick until theaters were open again after COVID. So obviously this guy knows how to direct a movie with big action sequences, and that is exactly what is going to be, I think, the biggest draw for this movie, and why I recommend seeing it on a big screen. So this was actually filmed partially at the 2023 and 2024 World Championships, with the collaboration of the governing body of Formula One, and there's real life F1 racers in this film. Racing sequences adapted from some of the real life races, specifically the real life tracks and how they work. And I really did not recognize anybody. I don't follow racing. I don't follow Formula One. But my friend Robbie that I went with to see this, he is a big fan of this stuff. And, every so often he would just lean over and say, okay, that's, this person, or yeah, that's how that would really work. And he actually went in with a little bit of, I don't want to say a chip on his shoulder, but just sort of thinking, okay, well, is this going to be a really Hollywoodized version of Formula One racing? Is this going to be realistic at all? And at the end of it, he said, yeah, boy, they really got a lot of things right. So that always bodes well. Now, that's not something that really concerned me, but if you are a racing fan, that will be something that you will be able to perhaps pick out, more than most. And I think that's a good thing, and now, does it hurt or help the enjoyment of the movie? Probably not, but to get that realism is certainly nice, and to have them actually filming during some of these races, on off days or whatever they were doing, so Brad Pitt could be a part of it, is very, very cool. And like in Top Gun Maverick, like I said, the same director here for these films, F1 utilized a lot of, real deal, actual racing. There is, some CGI, I'm sure, but not a ton. A lot of this was, practical sort of, stunt racing and whatnot. And that always bodes well. And Brad Pitt plays this character great. It is a tailor-made Brad Pitt type character. I'll say that. I don't think Pitt is necessarily stretching his acting capabilities here, but he turns in a great performance. I love the chemistry and the camaraderie between him and Javier Bardem, and then of course you have sort of that back and forth with the new kid on the block, and then Pitt's sort of grizzled old man that doesn't want to play ball with things like sponsorships and press conferences with people asking him questions and stuff. He really is not a part of that world and doesn't want to be. He just wants to race. And look, this is a formula, no pun intended, that we have certainly seen before in racing movies and in other sports movies. You've got the new young star and the older grizzled star, who's sort of living out his maybe last years in the biz, and what happens. Now, there are a few surprises, I think, plot-wise along the way. Not a ton. A lot of things I think you could probably, suss out towards the beginning. But the acting and the script definitely elevate some of those more standard moments. And the racing is thrilling. Like I said, I don't watch NASCAR or Formula One or any of that. It's not really in my wheelhouse, but these racing movies lately have been pretty good. I mean, I loved Ford v Ferrari. We're going back a ways now, but I loved Rush, the Ron Howard film from about 10 years ago. Those are both probably slightly better than this, but even that Gran Turismo they had, what was that, last year or the year before maybe, based on the video game, that was fun as well. This falls sort of somewhere in between that. Definitely thrilling. I will say that the female characters are not very fleshed out here, and specifically there is a romance side plot that I really did not think was at all necessary. Maybe it brings in an older crowd that wants to see Brad Pitt hooking up with somebody, maybe. But for me, that plot really kind of just was unnecessary, and maybe even a little annoying. Definitely brought the movie down a smidge for me in that regard. But other than that, yeah, I think this goes up there with a lot of those recent racing films, and definitely a smart move on Apple's part to put this in theaters first, just like they did, with Napoleon, like I said, because there were a few of their early Apple movies that I thought would have been great on a big screen. What was the Tom Hanks one? Greyhound, I think it was called, with all of these, big sweeping, action sequences that would have been great to see in a theater, but no, they relegated that to the small screen only. And so I'm glad that they did this on the big screen. Catch it if you can there. I leave F1 with a B+. And like I said, you will be able to see that soon enough if you can't get to a theater on Apple TV+. All right, thank you for watching Dave Reviews It. I will see you next time. Bye.